Hi, Recovery Girls. It's Chanel, and today I want to talk about how recovery can really positively impact relationships. On the surface, sometimes when we first come into recovery, it seems like maybe recovery kind of messes up our relationships in the sense that we start having different boundaries, we start having different ways of behaving in a way that's more consistent with who we want to be, and that disrupts relationships. And sometimes things have to change and people aren't happy about it. Or as you continue in recovery, sometimes we notice that there are some things that we're doing that are ineffective and we slip back into some of our old ways of being, and we need to change in the relationship. But recovery absolutely not only has a benefit for you, for me, but it also benefits those people who are around us. And I remember last year I was talking about the ending of a relationship. And it's interesting because what we find in recovery is that sometimes relationships end. The communication or the fellowship of the person doesn't have to end, but maybe it needs to change. And instead of just picking back up where things were, you choose to walk into it anew. It's fresh, it's new. So, in that way, recovery can benefit relationships. And then also, there are some times that relationships and friendships change. I really have a difficulty with this, especially when it comes to friendships, because I do have some difficulty getting close. And once I do, I don't want that person to ever leave. And the reality is that sometimes friendships are for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And sometimes it's hard to determine which stage my current relationships will be in, my friendships are in. But I just have to trust that God will do what He wants to do in that friendship, and just pray that I can pour out into that person as well as receive something for whatever the purpose is, and not be tied to a timetable with it. And then sometimes, relationships do genuinely end and it's time to say goodbye. It might be just, say, a recovery partner that you've been working with and you're noticing, okay, this person really doesn't suit where I'm going in my recovery, or you have some significant differences. I'm not encouraging that differences mean you have to break a relationship off, but depending on the levels of recovery, sometimes it is time to cut a relationship off, or especially if someone completely loses recovery and completely regresses into their old patterns of behavior, and it's not healthy. Sometimes that relationship does have to end, even if it's just putting it on a permanent one and an indefinite pause until that person recovers. This is especially true, like, say if I were to struggle with alcoholism and I'm no longer drinking, and then I have a recovery partner who is now hitting the bars every day and inviting me. It would not be good for me to continue in a relationship with that person, because it can be injurious and harmful to my own recovery. So I can end the relationship, or sometimes it's just putting, kind of, if you don't want to think of it as ending the relationship, you can put it on pause. But God ultimately always wants relationships to be restored. And the powerful part about recovery is that we work our own program. We show up, we do the work, we acknowledge when we're wrong, we try to get it right, and we just work the steps. And when we work the steps, we get honest with where we are. We seek to make amends to other people. We seek to let God open up our hearts and do an amazing work in us, because we need it desperately. Then we change, and when we change, our relationships change. And I want that for you, ladies. I so want you to enjoy the abundance and the love and all the gifts that relationships can give to you, whether it's just friendships, if it's recovery friendships, relationships with your family, romantic relationships. God wants you to have good relationships, and working recovery is one of the best things you can do for it. Recovery girls, Remember that God is wild about you and he longs to overshadow you in his goodness. All you have to do is let go and let God. I've let go, ladies. What about you?